Why is Tarantino retiring? Quentin Tarantino has long insisted that he would retire from filmmaking after his 10th film or when he turns 60. With the Pulp Fiction director reportedly having written a script entitled The Movie Critic that he intends to shoot later this year. There is once again speculation that it will be the last we see of Tarantino. The Movie Critic would represent Tarantino's 10th film, and he also turns 60 later this year. Tarantino first hinted at seeing the end during a 2012 interview with Playboy where he said, "I want to stop at a certain point. Directors don't get better as they get older. Usually the worst films in their filmography are those last four at the end. I am all about my filmography, and one bad film f up three good ones. I don't want that bad, out-of-touch comedy in my filmography, the movie that makes people think, oh man, he still thinks it's 20 years ago. When directors get out of date, it's not pretty." However, in 2015, talking to Yahoo, he said his plan was not yet fixed in stone. "Yeah, that's the idea, to retire after 10 movies. I could always change it," he said while promoting The Hateful Eight. "But I like the idea, frankly, to tell you the truth. I mean, look, 10 movies for me is at the soonest 6 years and the latest 8 years. And by the way, if film goes the way of the dodo bird, I might not even make 10. In recent years, Tarantino has expanded into other areas, including writing a novelization of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, his first book of film criticism, Cinema Speculation, and last year he started a podcast with fellow director Roger Avary where they discuss cult films. Quentin Tarantino's official filmography so far: Reservoir Dogs, 1992. Pulp Fiction, 1994. Jackie Brown, 1997. Kill Bill Vol. 1 and 2, 2003-2004. Death Proof, 2007. Inglourious Basterds, 2009. Django Unchained, 2012. The Hateful Eight, 2015. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, 2019. The director has also expressed interest in writing further books and creating a TV spin-off of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. During an interview with CNN in 2021, Tarantino reiterated that he didn't want to become out of touch. "I've been doing it for a long time. I've been doing it for 30 years, and it's time to wrap up the show. Like I said, I'm an entertainer. I wanted to leave you wanting more, and not just work, and I don't want to work to diminishing returns. I don't want to become this old man who's out of touch, when already I'm feeling a bit like an old man out of touch when it comes to the current movies that are out right now. And that's what happens." Tarantino also extensively discussed his future during an appearance on the Pure Cinema podcast. He said, "Usually their worst movies are their last movies. That's the case for most of the Golden Age directors that ended up making their last movies in the late 60s and the 70s. Then that ended up being the case for most of the new Hollywood directors who made their last movies in the late 80s and the 90s. Tarantino also teased that he wouldn't make any more movies after Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was such a success. "Maybe I should not make another movie because I could be really happy with dropping the mic. That's the frustrating part. A lot of the really terrific directors, it's like their third to the last movie would have been an amazing one to end on, which goes back to what I was saying about myself. Or if Don Siegel had stopped with Escape from Alcatraz, oh my F God. What a career, he really said it all. The other two were just jobs." According to The Hollywood Reporter, Tarantino's 10th movie is called The Movie Critic, and is set in late 1970s Los Angeles with a female lead at its center. Double quote. Speculation suggests the film will be about legendary New Yorker film critic Pauline Kael, and will cover the writer's brief tenure working as a consultant for Paramount in the 1970s. The filmmaker contributed to a 2015 documentary about Kael called What She Said, The Art of Pauline Kael, and said, "Most directors, especially of the older generation, didn't really care that much for critics. Double quote. We grew up with her as our kind of film Kerouac, if you will. Double quote. Watch below. Quentin Tarantino's final film will be titled The Movie Critic.